All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar, Are You Afraid of the Web? 3 Frightening Web Strategy Pains that Keep You Up Tonight. Speaking today is Dan Flanagan, Percussion's VP of Products. If you haven't heard of percussion.com, you can learn more of Percussion. You can learn more at percussion.com. Thank you for attending. The slides will be available after the webinar. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dan Flanagan.
Thanks, Alexis. So, you know, we all have a website. There's no doubt these days, I mean, nobody's getting by without a website. But for many of us, we're not sure whether our website is something that is a strategic asset that helps us move forward, or whether it's just a difficult thing that we have to do, just the cost of doing business. You know, and in line with the Halloween theme, it's sort of like it's the thing that's under the bed. And we're a little bit frightened, we've got our feet up, we're a little bit afraid to go down the hallway because you never know what might reach out and grab you. And that's the way many of us feel about our websites. But the landscape of is changing, and the need to have a strong web presence is greater than ever. You know, we see tremendous things like enrollment statistics are down across higher education institutions across the country. That the landscape of higher education is changing drastically. You know, MOOCs are becoming a reality for many students, and that's what we're competing against. The usage patterns among millennials is completely different than how people used websites 5 years ago. I mean, just some quick statistics. 9 out of 10 prospective students look at mobile when they want to look at your school's website. And not only that, but they're using multiple devices as well, and they expect to be able to get to the same information no matter what device they're using. So whether they're sitting at home on their PC or on their laptop, or whether they're on their phone on the go, they expect to be able to find and get to the same information. So with these things happening, it can be a very frightening prospect. So today what we're going to talk about is some of the things that are most intimidating about your website and some of the solutions and ways that we can help work on these things. The first thing I want to talk about is the ROI of your website. Now, ROI, I think, is a term probably not, you know, as heavily used in the higher ed space as it is. You normally associate that with an enterprise or a business solution. But the reality is that every organization is looking for a return on their investment. It's just really what it is that we're trying to measure as the return differs in a higher education organization than it would in a for-profit business. And the scary thing is that even though ROI, or return of investment, is going to be how marketing leaders are measured, that very few of them actually can. Think about your own institutions. You know that the end goal is to increase enrollment, to drive alumni engagement with your website, to continue to have informative and engaged students using your website. And so it's hard to draw the direct line between maintaining my website and helping those metrics. And so what you have to do to start is really understand what it is when you say the return on my investment is, what the return is, and how you can start to measure it. And sometimes what you're going to end up doing is using proxies as your mechanism for measuring, so that you might not be able to prove that directly that by adding more content, better content to your website, that all of a sudden enrollment is up. But what you can do is you can track some of the indicators, the correlating indicators that show that you're going to get there. So better content, better, more traffic, more applicants, more enrollment. Right? So you've got to at least begin to show the stages early in the funnel what's happening. I'll give you an example. One of our customers, NSU, used to get 10 to 20 requests a week for basic information. Their webmaster was constantly barraged for basic information. And after redoing their site and getting active contributors, they were down to 1 to 2 requests a month. And that's really because the content was of a higher quality and easier to find than it was before they redesigned their website. So that's an important metric to them to be able to track. And as the people who are sort of on the front lines of managing your website, quite often you have to justify this investment upwards to your management and to your senior leaders in your organization. And this is tough because most of the time what we see as another statistic is that 28% of CMOs say that their decisions about where they invest are based on a gut instinct. So what you really have to do is present evidence to override that gut instinct and present them the information that's going to show that, yes, in fact, doing things to invest in your website are going to result in those business metrics, such as enrollment, alumni engagement, student engagement, that are very important to you. And there are tools that really help drive this. You know, we use Google Analytics ourselves here at Percussion. It's one of the critical tools that we use to prove that we have engagement on our website. And there's different types of engagement. So one of the first things, and one of the first statistics that we use, that we gather through Google Analytics, is bounce rate. So if people are coming to our website and immediately leaving, then we know that that's a bad thing, right? That they found the wrong information or they didn't get the information they need. So we want to keep bounce rate down. So that's a great leading indicator. We've got the right people finding our website and looking at the right information. Similarly, you know, we track things such as how many new visits there are versus how many return visitors. And different pages, we're going to want to measure different metrics. So for example, on our home page, it's very, very important for us to have new visitors. That's a sign of life and of good health and of new people coming to our website. Whereas something like our tools around return on investment, some of our white papers, we want to see. We don't necessarily want to see all new visitors. We want to see that there are a number of return visitors, because that's a sign that those are people that are getting value from going to our website, that they're getting information that's useful to them. So when you look at your website, you might have the same thing. Your homepage, you might want to have lots of new visitors. And a sign of health of your website might be around your scholarships area. If you're seeing lots of return visitors, that's a sign that you've got people that are interested in your website and that they're getting the information that they need and that they're highly engaged with the content that you're providing. We also then use marketing automation platforms as another tool that can help you in understanding what's going on with your website. So you can insert cookies throughout your website so that you know who's doing what. Right? You can start to see those patterns that say, okay, somebody came in. If people who come in and tend to go to the enrollment area or to the, to get more information about academics tend to stay longer. They tend to also then look at information about scholarships. That's good information. People who come in, they just look at the sports information, what's going on with what's going on with social activities. They're not staying as long. That might be a good thing too, right? Maybe that's not necessarily where you want people spending their time on your website. But knowing what they're doing, that's the goal, right? Knowing what those behavior patterns are. That can be through your marketing automation platform. We happen to use Eloqua here, but there's a whole variety of tools that you can use, whether it's Pardot or HubSpot or what have you. And then things like Google Webmaster Tools also to make sure that your website's functioning properly. As you're moving information around to optimize it, right, you need to have the proper redirects in place so that your Google searches continue to be healthy and people get to the right information. And then continuing to keep up to date with what's happening with web. third-party research, white papers. We provide a number of white papers ourselves. So just keeping up to date with what's happening in the industry is just important as well. One of the biggest things that impacts your ROI of your web presence is around SEO and search engine optimization. The scary thing is that that higher ed is not really focused on this. As you can see from this statistic, 60 to 80% of higher education does not invest in SEO. We had a customer that, for some strange reason, was ranking really well for people that searched for balloon animals. Maybe somebody put out a web page that made a clever analogy to balloon animals, or whatever reason it was. People were searching for balloon animals, and that customer's website popped up. That's not great for that university, because those aren't the type of click-throughs that they're going to want or that they're going to get. So, had they not invested in SEO, they would have, they would have continued to have these bad searches. But by spending some time researching keywords, optimizing their website around those keywords, making sure that they were really identifying the problem areas and removing content so that those pages would get updated without the references to balloon animals, that results in better traffic getting to their website. We do this all the time. Every week we're looking at keyword search results, and we're trying to understand what's going on, who's searching on what, and why it's getting to us. With SEO too, this is evolving, and having a tool that you're using is something that is going to be important for you going forward. With Google just had a major update to their search algorithm called Hummingbird, and Hummingbird starts the transition away from just keywords to more natural language search. So think about the fact that people are going to be searching increasingly on mobile, and whether they're using Siri or whether they're using some sort of voice thing on their Android phone, they're going to go, where around here can I take a good course on web design? Right? And so it's going to be able to provide them with Hummingbird. They're better able to respond to those types of queries. Versus before, maybe somebody went into a web browser and they typed, web design courses, Andover, Massachusetts. Now that question is phrased differently. So making sure that you understand what's happening with Hummingbird, you can then optimize, again, your content. And if you don't manage your search engine, unfortunately what will happen is it gets managed for you. The last thing anybody wants is for their university to show up on the results for, best drinking and party schools. But if you're not actively managing your keywords and your searches, then that's what can happen to you. So knowing that, here are some recommendations that we have for improving your website's SEO. First of all, there are no shortcuts here. So if somebody comes and tells you that they can immediately, with a click of a button, fix your SEO, fix your search engine results, what they're probably doing is black hat SEO. And black hat SEO is a quick way to jam keywords, do keyword stuffing, and the result of that is you might have a temporary, oh my gosh, look how much better we're doing. But the reality is that Google sniffs that stuff out, figures out what's going on, and then penalizes you for it for much longer than the benefit you temporarily got. So make sure when you're dealing with SEO and with SEO vendors, don't try black hat techniques. And that's something for you to look up and understand what it is that you need to do. And instead, focus more on content. I mean, the reality is that that content is what really drives the web. And getting people, getting good content out there is going to drive the right kind of people to your site. You can also use structured data that's going to help you in returning good results. So you can use tools such as the markup helper from Google, and we'll tweet out this URL so that you can get to it. But this helps you structure your content so that the search, so that as Google is crawling your site or other search engines are crawling your site, they can get to the information, they can understand it semantically, and be able to present the search results best. And then also making sure that you share your content socially, right? So that social media is a great way to disperse your web, because what it allows, again, it allows the search engines such as Google to recognize the quantities of the content you're providing, and also recognize as people are finding it valuable. So if I tweet out the latest white paper, or if I'm a university and I'm sharing on Facebook the latest course catalog that I have, and that information gets shared by people that are following me, that's going to increase my search engine results. And so, eventually, if you think of this like 6 degrees of separation, the more I'm sharing, the more I'm likely to be shared by people that are following me, and that's going to give me that, that connection further and further out. And the last thing is really the need to develop a website that's going to be ready for the future. The web is continually changing, and what was acceptable and cool not so long ago is not cool today. And especially when you're a higher education organization and you're dealing with young people that want, not only do they want a good education, but they want to go someplace that looks like it's contemporary and fun and relevant. So making sure that your design is something that's up to date is important. And we find that users, if they go to their website, if they see things like it's not working on mobile, they take it as an indication that the business doesn't care. So with the number of students that are searching on your organization or searching on your institution by mobile, if they're not able to get to the information that they need, well, they're probably not going to stick around and try to find ways to find that information. They may move on. The web continues to evolve, and some of the things, again, that we did not so long ago, we don't do today. So, EDU is very common to have Flash on your home page, nice Flash animations that present information. Those just simply don't work on mobile devices. And it's not the case where you can put in a design that's going to be, one and done. These things continue to evolve. Anybody who follows design and design practices, when iOS 7 launched earlier this year, that with flat design, they introduced a design paradigm that, just quickly cascades out into the web and is rapidly adopted. And it replaced something that was called anthropomorphic design. So, whereas before it used to look cool, like I'm in a leather binder on a web page or an app, maybe I'm showing a calendar and it's supposed to look like it's now that looks right, or very quickly that looks. The ability to have a tool that allows you to do redesigns is very important, very painful. So one thing that we often see is that people confuse updating their design with needing to update their web content. You have tools in place that don't force you to continually change your content management system, but really just update your design. And it's going to continue to evolve, right? By the time you finally catch up and you make your site, mobile friendly, you're going to have to worry about, how does this look in Google Glass? Does my website work, on my, who knows, who knows what it's going to be a couple of years from now? Does it work on my tattoo? That's, who knows where we're going here. So when you look at making your website future-proof, it's not that you can design something that's going to be forever and ever good. What it's doing is putting a structure in place that allows you to be able to adapt and grow as things change. So by starting with content, that's your first good step. Is when you come with a content-first approach, what you're looking at is what is the information we want to provide, making sure it's well-written, well-constructed, shareable, reusable in multiple contexts. So you might have the same content that you put on your website, that you put on a LinkedIn page, that you put in Facebook, that you tweet out, that you put on a microsite. All of these things, by optimizing first for your content, you can reuse it and adapt it as your designs change. You don't want to spend time customizing, right? If your focus is on building a tool to deliver your website instead of delivering your website, what that's going to mean is that you are not going to be able to be as nimble. And so you don't want to spend your time building your toolkit. You want to spend your time building your website and being able to, as things change, update your website, not go, oh darn, we have to rebuild the tool. And then making sure you invest in responsive design. Even though design patterns change, one of the things that's clearly emerged is the notion of responsive design that allows you to build once, and then depending on depending on which device people are looking at, it's going to show up as desired. And again, this is going to continue to evolve too. There are things called adaptive design that's evolving, that may be the thing that follows, but it builds upon responsive design. So this investment is well worth it. And again, it focuses on separating out your content from your design so that it allows you to be more nimble going forward. We have a customer that was able to do this. They put in their website in place. As a result of doing that, they were able to start doing A/B testing and heat maps to determine, where, if they moved content from the left column to the right column, whether they were getting more click-throughs for more information. So they're able to see that what influences their call to action. So they're really able to separate the content from the design and the placement and optimize each independently so that they could get the most traffic and the most click-throughs to the desired actions. And so, sort of in closing, we have a couple things. As you're looking at, optimizing your website going forward and optimizing your web process, remember, your goal is to focus on managing your content. It's not on needing to manage your content management system. Your content management system should be there to facilitate you maintaining your website and maintaining your content and being able to update your design. And if you're spending all of your time struggling with the tool, what that's going to mean is that you're not going to want to use it. You're going to update your content less frequently. So you need to make sure that you have a toolkit that you find intuitive, easy to use, is going to facilitate a broad spectrum of content contributors and allow you to be very quick. Measure, target, and optimize, right? It goes back to the notion of you are what you measure. So if something is important to you, such as enrollment, such as alumni engagement, figure out the ways that you can measure that. And then measure, measure, measure. Continue to focus on those things. Make sure they're front and center so that you can get to a dashboard that shows you, are we getting the click-throughs to the call to action? Do we have lots of repeat visitors on our alumni page? Are we driving new traffic? Did this redesign that we just do, did it help us? Can we try out something using an A/B testing tool and see if it works? And then if it works, implement it permanently. So these are the things that you want to do in order to have the best possible solution. And then, stay agile. The pace of change for the web and for marketing is faster than it ever has been. And you just need the ability to be nimble. You need the ability to be able to adapt as things adapt. So again, if all of a sudden 2 years from now 90% of your students on campus are walking around with Google Glass, you need to, and they're expecting to be able to get to the course catalog, you know, you need to know that you can get there. It will take work, but you need to know that it's not going to take monumental work. And so you need to be ready to adapt to make sure that your students are engaged and that you're hitting those things that you want to hit as an organization. Scary stuff, but we're here to help. You know, we provide a web content management solution that we think helps you with all of these, and you know, we're eager, whether you just want to talk to us or whether you want to look at our product, to help share more information. So at this point, Alexis, I'd love to open it up for questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. So we've had a good amount of questions from the audience. Just a quick reminder, if anybody would like to add questions, please don't hesitate to type them into the chat window. I'd be more than happy to ask Dan the questions for you. So Dan, the first question we have is about responsive. I know you talked about that a little bit and how it might be changing, but do you think responsive is going to go away like Flash has?
No, I don't think it is, because I think Flash is a technology, whereas responsive is more of a technique, or a philosophical approach. So responsive was written about long before the technology caught up to the ability to deliver it, and if anything, you know, I think the arguments are more these days between whether you take a mobile-first approach or a responsive, or just a website-first approach and then make it responsive. But the technique of responsive, I think, is definitely here to stay. Where it will evolve will probably, you know, there'll probably be some technology shifts that make it possible to do things in the future that we can't do today. But I think the fundamental approach is going to stay and is agnostic, is fairly technology agnostic. It's not like it's controlled through a vendor like Flash was. So I don't think we worry about becoming overly dependent on that as a technique.
Great, thank you, Dan. So kind of adding to that on the whole mobile, so is it better to just build a mobile website rather than optimizing what I have?
Well, there are pros and cons of a mobile website versus optimizing. And there are, this can be a holy war for many people. So what I'll share is probably just a personal opinion and some pros and cons. So a mobile-first, one of the things that is a benefit of a mobile-first approach is that you can really optimize the experience for that mobile user, right? You can make sure it's perfect for that mobile user. The downside of that is one of the things that we mentioned about students is they are increasingly they are multi-device. So one day they're looking at your phone, one day they're looking on their iPad, one day they're looking on their computer. If they go to, you know, www.university.edu and they're getting a different experience in each one and they're able to get to different information, that can be a frustrating experience for them. Now, maybe you might get students okay with that, prospects, maybe not so much. So typically, I think that mobile is typically when you really know that you have a very different set of information that you want to present from what it is that you present just generally on your website. I'll give you an example. We have a customer, age.gov. They had a website that was very focused on things like white papers, information for researchers about AIDS, very traditional website. They, by looking at their search traffic, found that there was this spike of traffic after midnight of what they called, or what we kind of call in here, the oh no moment, where somebody did something they really scared them and that they immediately regretted, and they went looking for information about AIDS at that time of night. They felt that that was perfect to develop a mobile website for, because those people were looking for a very different set of information than generic research about AIDS, and so they built something that was very targeted. The other downside of a mobile-specific site is it waters down your search, your SEO. So in your SEO, you kind of want to ideally concentrate people on, if they're looking for, university, university academics or your organization, that if there's one destination to go to, more likely that's going to be at the top of the search results versus two completely different URLs. As a result, you end up getting watered down your search results. So that's another reason to go with one website that you optimize versus a mobile-specific site. I tend to drift towards make one site to rule them all, but there are definitely reasons why you might pursue a mobile-specific site.
Great, thank you, Dan. So moving away from the mobile topic, you talked about content a lot. So do you have any tools that you recommend for managing your team's tasks and content that you want to produce and when you're producing?
Yeah, sure. So, well, one of the things within our tool is we already have nice workflow. So that's great in terms of being able to manage the flow of content, so you can have people go in and write through a WYSIWYG interface, write their content, send it on for approval. I can tell you what we use internally. There's obviously this whole process before you get to actually writing, what it is you're going to do. We've used Google Docs internally to be able to kind of put together what we call the content map of what it is that we needed, what content we needed to develop. We have a Kanban tool, Kanban board, which is a technique of just managing basic tasks. We use a tool called Trello, and we have 3 columns: doing, next, and up to in the backlog, and so and then done. So 4. So we just basically taking things and moving them from the backlog to next, next to doing, doing to done. We also have a partner, Divi HQ, that has a nice calendaring tool for being able to set up those editorial calendars. So really, completely a very big range of what kind of tools you can use, and they're good. Divi is probably better for an organization that does have a larger number of content contributors, where you want to have that centralized control versus, we happen to have a small team, and so using just a Kanban board works very well for us.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Dan. I think that answers all the questions we have for today. The slides and recording will be available after the webinar on percussion.com, and the slides will be emailed to you as well. We appreciate everybody's time on this wonderful Halloween day, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you.